All right. It is Friday morning, January 10th, 2020. Hard to even believe we are in the new decade. I am your host of the Awesemo betting show, Jordan Frank. I am joined, as I am always on these beautiful Fridays, by Ben Raza. Ben, how you doing today?
I'm all right. I just did a show, so I'm warmed up, feeling good, feeling loose, talking betting now. I'm more excited. This is actually what I want to talk about. I don't love the DFS slate. These are great games, but I actually like them more from a betting perspective. We got college football national championships on deck, so a lot of good things coming up this week.
It's such a good weekend. I think we talked last week. We like the wild card weekend, but for me, this is always my favorite weekend of the year. You get the divisional games, you got the better teams playing, you got the college football championship. Obviously, a lot else going on that we can talk about. But before we get too into it, I do want to give a quick shout to our sponsor, who is EV Analytics. Make sure to check out their site if you're looking for some real time odds, betting stats, all of your betting needs. They've been a sponsor of ours for a little while now, so we do appreciate that. Also wanted to just give a quick shout. We have a lot of promos going on. Ben, have you been keeping track of all the promos on the site?
I'm doing the best I can. Yeah, a lot of them I have to because they're golf related, and those are the best kind of promos.
Those are the best ones.
Uh,
You have in front of you? I did have it a second ago. Now I realize I don't.
So I know we have a couple that I'll just rattle off and you can clean up my mess here, but we have a PGA 2020, which is $1 sign up for a week of golf. So if you want to get in, try that. We also have the code 2020, which is 20 days of Awesemo Plus, platinum. Doesn't include Fantasy Cruncher, but you get in, you get the projections, you get the ownership, you get the rankings, 20 days worth for only $20. It's only valid until January 10th. So we'd love for you guys to sign up, get in there and come check it out. And then we hope that you'll stay because it's really a great addition.
What do I need to clean up? You are the true professional on this show.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in form. I got the kinks out with Nolan breaking down the DFS side of it, so I am ready to roll here.
I put that one right on a tee for you. You smashed it. Yeah, I've been up all night. I'm certainly not ready. You are nice and warm and loose and ready to go
No.
here.
I told you before the show, don't bring excuses. I was up watching St. Mary's. They had the game won multiple times. It went into overtime. The game didn't end till well after midnight. I did not get a lot of sleep there, but got to do what you got to do. I did weasel out of that. Had him on the money line, which is extremely fortunate because they didn't cover by a hook. Sometimes you get lucky like that. That is what I needed to start the day. That's for sure.
That's a beautiful way to do it. Yeah, you stay up late sweating those games. You like to get a W in there.
Yeah, truth. We were talking before the show, recapping a little last week.
Yeah, let's talk last week. We got to do
Sure.
a quick postmortem of last week before we get into the games for this week. I don't know if it makes sense to go game by game, but the first game was the Bills Texans, and we both said, Will Fuller out, and the line gets to 3. Those were like our 2 check marks to fire on the Bills, and we got both of those. I was able to get a 3. Obviously, Will Fuller didn't play. What could go wrong, right? Like up 16-0 into the middle of the third quarter. We got this locked.
Josh Allen, baby, my man. He is
My God.
the greatest player ever. But yeah, what killed them is they had the chance to really throw a knockout punch and they kicked field goals. That is the kiss of death, as everybody knows. When you have it on the ropes, you just need to finish it. And you could just feel it turning. Now I didn't end up betting the game because I couldn't get 3. I got 3 at like minus 125. I didn't want to do it. And yeah, what a brutal back, especially if you had the Bills on the money line. That would be awful.
Yeah. I was happy, but I could feel that game turning. So I was pretty happy to get out of there with a push. But I mean, we talked about it before. Some of the most, mind-boggling plays I maybe have ever seen from a quarterback.
So the lateral. I mean, I didn't even, that is next level. It really felt like, that was the last play of the game. If you're going to do that, was an unbelievably insane.
That is a desperation move when there's 0 time on the clock and you need a touchdown and you start doing like the lateral game.
So in chat, if anyone knows the answer to this, because this is how my mind works, obviously not properly. I always thought, are you allowed to say you're running, you have no timeouts? Can you just throw the ball out of bounds? Backwards?
As long as it's backwards, you can.
Why do teams do that? Like go to the middle of the field. They give you the middle of the field, catch it, turn to the sidelines and throw it, slightly behind you out of bounds. Or is that a penalty?
So you're saying like a full, just like throw, like quarterback throw out of bounds,
No, I'm saying like
like a bat?
say you have no timeouts. They give you the middle of the field. You throw a 20-yard catch to DeAndre Hopkins. He catches the ball. He stops. He turns to the sidelines. He throws it behind. It's not a forward pass,
Yeah.
slightly behind him, just directly out of bounds. Did they get it right there with the clock stopped?
I mean, we need to call what's his name from the booth? The
Yeah, Dean
Fox ref.
Blandino, help us
You
here.
know,
I'm tagging in here. I've had this conversation before. You absolutely get it where the ball goes out of bounds.
I think so, right?
You see, this is what I'm talking about with the NFL. How do teams now? Everyone has discovered. Oh, you take the extra false start, and we'll get to the Tennessee game. I have been saying that forever. If you're going to do it, you might as well just keep getting what's the difference with the punt? If you can obviously pin them, shave off multiple minutes. I don't know about these loopholes. You would think it would be a penalty, but I don't know why teams don't try that.
Yeah, no, I think Josh is right. As long as it's backwards, you're fine. There's no penalty.
Yeah, there you go. Teams, listen to me. Mike Zimmer, give me a call. I'll go up to Minnesota.
I think a lot of teams could use somebody who could actually either know the rules or understand time management. I think more importantly,
it's really unbelievable. Like Mike Vrabel is like a messiah now because he found that loophole, which is very smart.
It was.
But like this stuff, it's not that hard. I don't get it. There's so many things that can make a difference in a game.
And Sean Payton had multiple gaffes in that game. We haven't even talked about that one, but let's talk about the Patriots game because I know we said this was going to be the victory lap game for one of us. So I don't know. The floor is yours, I guess. I don't know. Do I need to do some walk of shame?
No, I mean, I think, listen, I'll it's amazing. I finally get a chance to gloat about being right, and I don't even want to because I have been wrong so many times with the Patriots about them being killed. And finally, they had their chances. They had 1st and goal from the 1-yard line, and they did not score. I finally got one with the Titans. They did what they needed to do. That was a perfect game plan. They made the plays. The one thing I was stunned about is it looked like they wanted to prioritize taking away A.J. Brown and not Derrick Henry. I didn't really understand that.
I didn't either. And for all of the downfalls, I don't know, that 1st and goal, it was just so egregious. It felt to me. You talked earlier, like kicking field goals just kills you. They get to the 1, and how do you not sneak? Like Brady's bread and butter is the quarterback sneak, and I don't know how they didn't pull the trigger there. Like I was really surprised. They kick the field goal. Tennessee comes like right down and scores. It's 14-13. Like they lose. It's a huge swing, right? Like you give up the touchdown, you get the field goal, and then you give up the 7 going the other way. It really felt like the momentum had shifted. Then they go into the second half, and I mean, nobody really scores until the last 10 seconds of the game. But if Edelman catches that pass, I don't know. I still, me personally, even though I thought the Patriots played a really horrible game, I still thought they were going to win and cover as they were driving there. Like they just score and they're going to cover.
Oh, I didn't feel great about my position. And it wasn't just, I had some on the money line. I had more with the points, and I didn't feel great about either. No doubt, but it was going to happen eventually. The Patriots obviously just not that good this year. No ifs, ands, or buts. So we'll see what the Titans can do this week. Different challenge, obviously.
Yeah, that's for sure. You want to talk about the Sunday games at all, or should we dive into this weekend?
I mean, I don't have much to say. If you do, I'll say this. I had a huge bet on the Eagles. What are you going to do? My only gripe, I thought they should have moved to Ward at quarterback. He played quarterback in college. Josh McCown to me is just the lowest variance option. You need to up the variance. They had their chances, but it just never felt like they were going to get there. So we'll see what Seattle does here.
They had chances, that's for sure. He did move the ball, but they just couldn't. They couldn't get in the end zone. Like they couldn't capitalize on any of their momentum that they were, moving the ball like decently against Seattle. I don't want to, give away our picks, but I've kind of been fading Seattle a lot. I feel like I was on the Eagles too. As soon as Wentz went out, I knew just this was not going to be our day.
It's just
ugly,
terrible. I needed him in DFS too. It was just a perfect storm of bad things. And listen, Seattle, they did what they should do, but at the same time, it's going to be a lot different this week in my mind. That game, I don't know where I thought the spread would be, but at the same time, it's only, I see, it's been 4.5, certainly the lowest on these 4 games.
Yeah. It is interesting. Let's definitely jump into the games then. But real quick from last week, I mean, just kind of big picture, the road teams go 3-1, which isn't really any kind of trend. But I guess the question is like, is there And I've seen some stats that kind of back this up, but I don't know if I necessarily find like some huge trend. But like, is there an erosion of home field advantage that you're seeing? That like, do you factor that like when you're capping games? Like, do you take less of home field into account, or is it specific? To me, it's always specific to the one game, the stadium, the teams, obviously. But I don't know. It does seem like there's a trend where the road teams are covering and winning at a higher clip than ever before, especially in the playoffs the last few years.
So that's something I actually would love to discuss in depth at a different point. I think it's a bigger problem in college football and college basketball that guys come in more ready to play from AAU and stuff, just having
Mhm.
traveled. But in the NFL, I think it's more situational than anything. We know they're all professionals. They can win anywhere. Certain venues, whether it's weather or just being a tough place to play, are a lot different than others. But I mean, we saw Minnesota go into the Superdome and win. I mean, that's as tough as it comes. And these
Yeah.
teams, they can get it done. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, right? I don't know what
No, I don't know
level of
either.
emphasis to put into it. To me, it always is going to be game dependent, game specific. But it's interesting. And the Bills, like we said, I really feel like the Bills should have won that game and should have covered and won. So I mean, you can always do the what if game, but then it's all four road teams win. Just kind of a crazy wild card weekend.
It was. And now, what I always find interesting is you get those wild card games. Now you get these teams that come in off a bye, and we get big spreads.
Yeah,
We have
big
two
spreads.
double-digit spreads. We've got another sitting around a touchdown, and then, as I mentioned, the Packers are 4.5-point favorite. So, the
Yeah,
underdogs are getting a lot more points in this situation.
that's for sure. So will it hold true from last week? So let's start. You mentioned the Vikings. So they're the first game on Saturday afternoon. Vikings are traveling to San Francisco. Vikings played on Sunday and then get kind of the quick turnaround here on the first game Saturday. Niners, like you said, coming off a bye. Game opened at 7. Looks like it's been pretty steady. Hasn't really moved much. It's just sticking there right at 7. The splits seem like pretty even, like 50% on both sides, which is interesting to me. I know you wrote an article for the site and you had your pick for this game as one of your picks in that article. So I'll give you the floor on this game first.
It's true. And it's one I did honestly go back and forth before, right after the Vikings ended, I naturally knew this was going to be the matchup, of course. And it was like, man, Minnesota, that could they be that team that makes a run? They've got all the tools. They've got Dalvin Cook back. Cousins, I've always been bigger fan than certainly most people with him. And then I heard about the Niners getting healthy, and that changed it completely. This team was as banged up, and we nailed it on this show with the Falcons. That was the culmination of it. That game was wild where Julio scored at the end. And man, this bye week, they have multiple starters on defense coming back with Quan Alexander, with guys in the secondary, guys up front. And when this Niners defense is at full strength, and of course they've lost some guys for the year, but it's as close as you're going to find. It's a big problem, I think, for Minnesota, and they get the short turnaround. I'm going to hope I can grab 6.5 at some point, but I like the Niners actually to roll over the Vikings in this spot.
Yeah, I'm on board with you. I agree with everything you said. Them getting healthy on the defensive side of the ball is the big key to me. You mentioned Quan Alexander. D Ford looks like he's good to go. A couple other guys are getting back. They're getting back. Jaquiski Tart.
Yep.
They're missing one or two guys, but this was a defense the first 8 to 10 weeks of the season that was just dominating, like one of the best defenses. They were right up there with the Patriots, who people were saying was like a generational defense. Turns out they were just playing all the cupcakes and was rolling everybody. But the 49ers defense has been incredibly good this year, and it really poses a huge problem for Cousins. One stat that I saw that was really interesting was Cousins is actually a really good quarterback when they blitz. I don't know if that's just his quick decision making. He gets the ball out relatively quickly. He does pretty well against pressure, against the blitz. But when you can get pressure from just your front four, it's a big difference for him. Obviously, its coverage is better. Niners have better cornerbacks. Just looking at the stats from last week, the Saints blitzed him 9 times on 33 dropbacks, and he went 6 for 9 with a $122 and a touchdown. Otherwise, he only got pressured 5 times in the entire game by the Saints. obviously most quarterbacks, you pressure them, it's going to make a huge difference. But really with Cousins, if you can get kind of that natural pressure from the front four, you're going to get some shaky throws. And you could say, yeah, the pressure is a little bit off of him. I guess that's probably true to some degree. It's Jimmy G's first playoff game. I can see an avenue where this is a close game, but I also can see where the 49ers just run the ball down their throat and get up 2 touchdowns, and you just got to worry about the back door.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not that I don't trust Kirk Cousins, and it's not that I even trust Jimmy G. I think that if the game stays close, certainly the longer it stays close, it favors the Vikings. There's no doubt about that. But I think there's a very large chance that the Niners punch first and the Vikings never get up. And if that happens, and they are just, as you mentioned, there's nothing worse than getting pressure, first of all, right up the gut, and even with the front four. If Dalvin Cook is marginalized even a little bit, they have huge problems. And Deebo Samuel, Kittle, everyone, this is a prime spot for the Niners, and I do really like them this week.
I do too. I heard you talking on the show, Nolan, that you like the Niners as kind of a contrarian stack for DFS. I do think they're going to throw the ball a decent amount here. The Vikings do a pretty good job against tight ends, but their corners have been picked on a lot this year. Like we've talked about, like a bunch of their guys just haven't been playing well. Like Xavier Howard, like a few other guys. It's a good spot if Jimmy G can play well here. Like he's going to be able to throw the ball, right? Like I like Sanders and Deebo, and Kittle obviously is amazing. Like I really think the Niners are going to be able to put up points here.
Yeah, and listen, there's multiple things. I know the Vikings, and Chad has mentioned this, they are fantastic against tight ends. They don't play George Kittle every week, though. That's just a different animal. And Xavier Rhodes last week, credit to him. I'm not going to say he shut down Michael Thomas, but he didn't get torched, and that's a win in itself.
Yeah.
But again, this is a different animal. Not that Michael Thomas, we know, is fantastic, but I don't think he suddenly discovered his old cornerback abilities. We'll see what they do against Sanders and Deebo and the three-headed monster at running back.
Yeah, so it looks like we're both on the same side here. We both like the Niners. Obviously, I don't know if this number is going to dip. It seems like it's pretty steady at 7, and I don't know if there's going to be enough money to push this down to 6.5. But if you can find it, obviously that's the number you want to get. If you like San Francisco, if you like the Vikings, I think you should just wait, see if this number goes the other direction. You might
Definitely
be able to get over a touchdown.
It looks like Thielen's gonna play, but if somehow he ever sat, obviously the spread will move a bit. But I don't think that's a real issue, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think so either. It seems like they're getting healthy at least. That's one thing you can say. Cook, they're going to try and give him the ball 30 times again. That's going to be the game plan.
Definitely.
In the play action. And, you can see a path where they keep this close. But to me, I think the defense is just too good. Like they're going to have to score enough points to stay in this game. And I just don't know if they can do it against the Niners defense.
No, they need to make Jimmy G beat them. That's got to be the goal for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like you got to live with that. If he beats you, there's nothing you can do, but don't lose it on your own and let the Niners defense win it for you. That's got to be their strategy.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay, let's move to the night game then. Saturday night, you got the Titans, obviously winning last week at Foxborough. Now they get to go and punch the ticket to go play in Baltimore. I was actually heard something today that it's supposed to be like in the 60s at Baltimore at game time, which seems crazy, but
that's outrageous.
Sounds like that is going to be quite a nice day then out there in Baltimore. That line is sitting at 10. Hasn't had a ton of movement either, like pretty steady at 10. A big number, obviously, like they're trying to price out teasers with some of these big spreads, making it tough to get down under 3. What are your thoughts on this game? So it's sitting at 10 right now.
So it's definitely not my favorite. I don't know what to make of Baltimore. I want to see what the status of Ingram is. I think he's more important than people realize. We know Lamar is Lamar. He's not the same as last year. I will say last year in the playoffs, when the Chargers got another crack at him, it wasn't good. If I have to take a position on the game, I would definitely take the points. I think that Derrick Henry is just something that teams can't really plan for. He could have 35 carries again. They could shorten the game. I certainly think the Titans and the under is correlated. They need to win like they did last week. If Baltimore gets going and Marquise Brown is making plays and Lamar is on the edge, that could be really problematic. I mean, we'll see what A.J. Brown can do against Marlon Humphrey, against Peters, if he gets him, someone's going to have to step up for Tennessee. But 10 points is a lot. And with Derrick Henry, I would take the points if I had to take a position.
There's a lot of points. This is one I think I'm probably staying away from as well, or at least maybe live is the way to go. But just like Baltimore has played like perfect football for like 14 straight weeks or something. Like, can they keep this up? Like, yeah, I think they probably can. Like, since they lost to Cleveland, which I think was like week 4 or week 5, like this team, and since they got Marcus Peters, right, like there's definitely a correlation there. Like their defense is playing incredibly. Lamar is unstoppable. You just look at the points allowed, and they played some good teams in there. They haven't given up more than 20 or 21 points since like they played the Patriots scored 20. So I think since like week 4 or 5, this team hasn't given up more than 20. So the question to me is, okay, is Tennessee going to be able to score enough points to keep this game close? Because you got to think that Baltimore is going to put up points. I mean, Tennessee's defense, they look good, but they didn't. I don't know. What did you think in that game last week? I mean, the Patriots, I guess it's a referendum on the Patriots. Like,
yes.
Are they complete trash, or did the Titans have a good defensive game plan and actually slow them down?
No, I think not sadly for me. I've been waiting to say this for a long time. It was because the Patriots offense was trash.
Trash.
They have no weapons of any kind. And this is, I mean, there's nothing. I talked about how Derrick Henry is kind of something you can't prepare for. Clearly, the Ravens attack is something that nobody has seen, maybe ever. So we'll see what they can do. To me, it's pretty simple. If Baltimore hangs 30 plus, I don't see any way that Tennessee can stay inside the number. But if this game is played in the 20s, of course, when you're getting 10 points, if you have the first number correct, you'll be just fine. So they need to keep it slow, lean on Derrick Henry, and naturally avoid some turnovers.
Yeah, talk about like correlated to the under. I mean, this game is like the absolute example of that. Did you coach speak obviously is worth like nothing, but like when John Harbaugh was saying before the season, like they were going to revolutionize the NFL and like have this revolutionary offense. Like, has anybody called their shot like better than him? Like maybe Babe Ruth in the 32 series. I don't know. Like, it's kind of true, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, they've done stuff that I've had a conversation with a lot of people about just what Lamar is, and we will see. RG3 was unstoppable until he was stoppable. You could always get hurt, but I will say there is also a chance that Lamar is just special, and he has a skill set that is special. Like there's two different avenues.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump around, but like some guys just have it. Whether you talk about, I'm not saying he's Wayne Gretzky, but like when you look at Luka, he's not a freak athlete, but he just has something, obviously.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson is doing things. Maybe this will become the norm and there'll be more of this, but right now, I don't know how you really scheme if he can throw effectively.
And people who are pointing to last year, that Chargers game, I'm not taking anything from that. Like, this is such a different team. He is a different player completely. Like, the whole scheme is different. I'm not putting a lot of stock in his struggle from last year.
No, I mean, if you're going to do it, and this is credit to Baltimore, if you're going to do it, you got to go all in. And they have constructed an entire roster based around this. That's the way to do it. Like everything they do is based around this unique offense. So they've got guys on guys with these tight ends. Obviously, if they had John Brown still, my God, there'd be 2 of them out there. But we will see. It's another game where clearly the start, that first quarter is massive for both teams. Got to get out of the gate if you're Tennessee.
Yeah, you can't get down a couple touchdowns because then you make that team one-dimensional and it's not going to end pretty. I was reading there's going to be like some wind, but I mean, unless it's like incredibly, consistent wind, I don't really put a lot of stock into that. Like I said, it's going to be warm and balmy, but if there is some real wind, maybe that's an issue. But both these teams want to run the ball, and
I don't worry about that.
I don't think it's a big deal. So I guess we're both then kind of a stay away. I think so. You lean with the points. I actually think I lean the other way, but again, it's so many points that I'm not going to be touching it. If I had to, I would probably lay the points, which I never want to lay double digits. But
no, and it's again, I'm going to wait and see. Like if I don't think the game is unfolding right, I could, like, if Tennessee can get up early, maybe I'll take a small position on the buyback or something. But I don't know how you're laying. That's a tough lay for me. Like, you really got to, 2 touchdowns. You think they got to win by 10 is not a great number for you. And
no,
that's tough.
No, I don't think I'll be betting this one. Live, like you said, live is going to be
Live
the way to
betting.
go if you have the capability. That's definitely one. Titans get up early, maybe get a decent number on the Ravens. A couple ways you could play it, but I like going live there.
Yeah.
Okay, move to Sunday. Then we got the Texans coming off that monster win against the Bills, traveling to Arrowhead. They are looks like it's at 9, and I see some 9.5s. It might have touched 10 for a minute and went down to 9.5. It opened at 8, but got bet up right away. So you got the Texans and Chiefs. This is on Sunday, I guess early afternoon for me, later afternoon your time.
Yep.
I don't think weather is an issue here from what I saw. I think snow maybe on Saturday, but not Sunday in KC. I'm not worried about that. Yeah.
What do you
like?
I mean, I like the Texans. Taking 10 again. This is a spot, and it's not honestly, I almost wish they lost the game in week 6. They beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead.
They did.
And I don't love that aspect of it because I don't think that's a huge deal. But what I did take away from the game is that Carlos Hyde could, in theory, be the focal point of the offense. In that game, he had $116 and a touchdown. He had 26 carries, a lot of carries, regardless. That's what the Texans need to do. Keep Mahomes on the sidelines, lean on the running game. We know Deshaun Watson can bring them back, but I really don't love the idea of a back and forth, trying to match touchdowns in this spot. So for me, I think that's kind of the wild card. The way to attack the Chiefs is up front, lean on the running game. If they do that and they do it effectively, I think they'll be there with a chance to win in Arrowhead again. As
you confident in Bill O'Brien to execute that game plan?
You can just confident in Bill O'Brien, full stop. No. As I talked about at the beginning of the show, I'm inventing ideas to throw the ball out of bounds. Bill O'Brien is the opposite of that in every single way.
100%. Total 180.
Deshaun Watson is fantastic, and he's going to run the ball. We saw 14 carries last week. He's going to do his part. I would hope if Fuller plays, that will really help. Not even just to keep them honest. I don't even think he needs to be effective. Just be out there. And then we'll see. I mean, the Chiefs have everything you could ask for. They're healthy and ready to go. But again, double digits, that's a lot of points.
It is a lot of points. Yeah. Again, we talked about last week, kind of broken record, like what their offense can do with Will Fuller. And it's not, like you said, always just, his statistics per se. It's really how he opens the field up for Hopkins and everybody else. If he's playing, which I think it seems like he is, right? Like last I saw, I think he's playing, but I don't know. This one, I go back and forth. Like, I don't want to lay double digits, like essentially ever in the NFL. And I don't want to do it in this game. And for me, I'm probably going to wait again. Like, I don't like not having a position, but like we said last week, right? Like one of the advantages we do have is that we don't have to bet every game, even though you feel like you do, especially with the NFL playoffs.
Oh, definitely. Easier spots than these.
Yes.
Out there.
For sure.
So we'll see. Another game where, and you could say this about most, but I think live betting is incredibly useful. Like if you see it and you see Hyde being stopped and them starting to abandon the game, the over, even though it's high at 51, I like, and vice versa. If the Texans, if Houston can take time off this clock, move the ball effectively and shorten this game, I mean, that is all you could ask for as a Texans backer.
The Chiefs, I mean, they're getting healthy, right? But 2 weeks ago they were pretty healthy too against the Chargers, and that was a struggle for almost the entire game. And they had to get that game to get the bye, as they saw the Patriots were losing or were about to lose to the Dolphins. So that leaves kind of a bad taste for me. You have Andy Reid after the bye. Like, there's a lot of great stats, obviously, with him. He's one of the best coaches coming off a bye. But again, it's a lot of points.
I'll just say this, and I don't want to get too crazy, but if you look at the Chiefs' schedule, honestly, the names, it's like, listen to the schedule to close the year. They played the Chargers, the Raiders, New England, Denver, Chicago, and the Chargers. Sounds like a lot of really good teams. But then when you really think about all these teams, they're actually all not good. Early in the year, they're playing teams like the Titans, like the Vikings, like Houston. These are playoff teams. And, they lost a fair amount of those games. They were certainly competitive. I don't know. I'm not going to say that the Chiefs are terrible. I will say this, though. I think the Texans do have a real chance to win the game, and I will have some exposure to this money line.
Yeah, I think if for sure, if you're going to put some money on the Texans, if you like them to cover, like you just have to sprinkle. Like this is such a good spot. I think in all these NFL playoff games, like just sprinkling makes sense if you like the dogs. I mean, obviously we saw last week that would have been profitable, especially with these bigger lines. You're going to get a little bit juicier money lines coming back.
Definitely.
So I think you got to do it.
Got to.
I mean, I guess just one last thing, then we'll go to the last game. I mean, are we sleeping on Mahomes? Like, have we forgotten that he was Lamar Jackson last year? I mean, he's been so banged up this entire season.
It's very possible.
It's definitely possible he comes out and throws, like 350 and 4 touchdowns, and this game's over in, second quarter.
Absolutely. To me though, that stuff, I don't want to say it doesn't worry me, because if that happens, I almost feel like I have that avenue covered. There's a very real chance that happens. But to me, it's all about weighing the narratives and the scripts in terms of probability. I think there's a much better chance that the Texans can control the game on the ground, or that it's a shootout. And if it's a shootout, to me, it's a 50-50 if you cover 10. If it's a slow, methodical game, you have a huge advantage. And if Mahomes is rolling, you're probably dead in the water. So that's kind of how I balance it out. We know he's got the upside, though, no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I think looking at the probabilities that way makes sense. I just do feel like some people maybe have forgotten, because he has, I don't want to say struggled, but he hasn't looked like himself from last year. Again, he's had a knee injury, he's had an ankle injury. So, the bye definitely helps him, right? Like, it's just a question then, okay, like, what are the odds here that they can definitely get in the track meet for sure. And Houston can put points up on the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense has been playing better, especially at home. But I still think the Texans offense is dynamic enough, especially if Hyde is involved. I think you nailed it. If they can get him involved, like, that opens up so much for that offense.
Huge.
All right, last game here, and then we'll get into college, because we got to talk about the college playoff. We got Seattle traveling up to Lambeau to play the Packers. Should be cold as expected, but nothing like crazy. Line is I'm seeing 4.5 right now.
Yes, I am.
So say you.
I mean, this game is, if there was a bias here, I'm rolling with the Packers. I like the Packers. I hate the Seahawks. So let's get that out there in front. Now, trying to separate that.
Transparent.
It's all about transparency. I don't take anything away from what happened last week. Wentz went down. Honestly, the running game was as ineffective as I thought it was going to be. And now you look at a Packers defense who can do things in the back, and they can make it tough on Metcalf and Lockett. Aaron Jones is going to have a day, in my opinion. They've got Devontae Adams. They have Rodgers, who, similar to Mahomes, I feel like people are like, oh, yeah, he's done. Like, he's quite good.
Yes.
They're in Lambeau. No excuses. You should win this game going away, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we're in the same position again. Are we conflicting on any games? I don't know.
Maybe the Ravens.
I guess maybe the Ravens if I had to take it. But yeah, I like the Packers a lot here. It sounds like you do too. I've been really bearish on Seattle like this entire season. They've only led at halftime in 5 games this entire season, yet they won, 13 games?
That's insane.
Like, their point differential was, single digits by the end of the season. They just keep finding ways to win these close games. And as the injuries mount up, I just think their luck's going to run out. Like, I was pretty confident that the Eagles were going to beat them last week. And obviously we'll never know. Wentz got hurt and they lost. So we do know, I guess. But you're right. I mean, people are sleeping on the Packers here. The Packers beat a lot of bad teams as well, but had some good wins during the season. And, the bye will certainly help. And I think Aaron Jones is going to have a monster game here. I agree with you. Like, you can run on Seattle. Seattle's defense is banged up. They're coming off, they played the last game on Sunday last week. So, I guess it's the same amount of time, but having the bye here, I just really like the Packers. Again, people kind of like with Mahomes, and I think you're right. Like, Rodgers, like, always kind of gets slept on that he is like probably one of the 3 or 4 best quarterbacks in the league still.
Yeah, he's amazing. I'm a huge Aaron Rodgers guy, so there is that. But listen, Russell Wilson does more with less than anyone. The way he's able to get out of pressure, to make plays on the edge, I get it, but I do want to see what happens to Seattle if they get hit first and the running game is non-existent and they've got guys in the secondary that can handle Lockett and Metcalf. Not that they're going to be shut down by any stretch, but Green Bay is a balanced team. They went into Minnesota and whooped them during the year.
Oh yeah.
They can play. There's no doubt about it. It's in Lambeau, so I just don't. I thought this number would be honestly closer to a touchdown. I really did.
I did too. It actually kind of set me back a little bit because these other lines are so high. Like I really was surprised. Like it opened at 3.5, which I thought was crazy low. It got bet up right away, which makes me feel good because I do think a lot of money is going to come in on Green Bay. But surprisingly, yeah, I think just there's a lot of public sentiment behind Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, and everybody's seen them win a lot of games over the last 4, 5, 6 years.
They always beat every time,
and they always beat Green Bay, right?
It's anarchy. Like the one where that was in the regular season where the replacement refs called the Hail Mary.
Hail Mary, yep.
And then the one in the playoffs with the onside kick.
Yep.
That guy. And then of course Aaron Rodgers never wins the coin toss. That was the worst one.
Yeah, that was bad.
That was such a bad day. And then the Patriots won by like 90 over the Colts. What a sad day in my life. No respect.
Bad. Yeah. Yeah, like Seattle's not going to be able to run the ball. Like we're pretty confident, right? Like
no chance.
I don't see Marshawn getting a lot of carries, and if he does, I don't think he's going to be successful.
No, Homer's going to get the carries again. He had 11 carries last week for 12 yards. And that's not – the Eagles' front is good. Fletcher Cox was literally throwing people around. But Green Bay is also good up front. They'll be just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show about McCown and just how – like he was moving the ball, but just – couldn't get the job done. And if Seattle could barely beat McCown, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith. I have faith in Russell Wilson always. Like he's going to pull these games out. Like you said, he does more with less than I think anybody in the league. But eventually, you're just not going to be able to overcome a better team. And right, like the line, I don't know. To me, it doesn't really reflect the difference between the two teams, in my opinion.
No, I mean, listen, it's one of those spots where if Green Bay is kind of, the Denny Green, if Green Bay is who I think they are, they should handle this game at home. I don't know this is a game though, I will say, and I got to dig more into it. I might actually just take Green Bay on the money line. I think they win the game. Maybe I won't lay the points and try to roll it into something. We'll see. But they should win. They really should.
Yeah, I would be pretty surprised. I mean, nothing like shocks me in the NFL, but I'd be pretty surprised if Green Bay doesn't take care of business here.
Let's hope. They need to make a run.
I'm seeing minus 200-ish on the money line, 220.
I'll roll that with, another game, get better than plus, or I could just take it, pay the juice.
Something I alluded to earlier. Are you looking at any teasers? Like we talk a little bit about teasers on the show, and like they really priced, especially the two big favorites. They price them so you can't really get a good teaser. I think there's some intentionality there.
Not really. To me, I'll just, again, that's not the same as a teaser, of course, but live betting, I think, is the way to go. You're not teasing through key numbers. I lean to the dogs anyway. And I think we've both acknowledged, I have absolutely no interest. Like Tennessee or Houston could lose by 50. I want to be clear about that. Teasing them up, I think, is insane.
I agree.
That is not what I want to do at all.
Yeah, right. Like it's just whether you could tease Baltimore down to 3.5 or 4, and the same with the Chiefs, but you're not teasing through 3, so it's not really an effective tease. Those games just are live to me. I don't want to mess around with teasers, at least with those teams. I guess you could make the case. I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know where else that would go, to be honest.
No, I don't.
I guess the Niners you could tease down to a pick 'em, basically. That I like, but I don't know who I'd put with it.
No, and you don't want to tease Green Bay through the 0. Don't do that. And GQ made a good point in chat. The Eagles front is better. There's no doubt about that. I don't trust Seattle's running game at all, regardless of who they're playing against. I just don't see it materializing.
Yeah, Eagles have legit front seven, and that's
they got dudes.
Many reasons that I had the Eagles in that game was that they were going to truly one-dimensionalize Seattle, even more so than they already are, given their lack of a running game. But that didn't get us very far. All right, cool. Let's we got a few more minutes here. We obviously got to talk about there's one college football game that people may or may not be talking about, I think, right? We got Clemson LSU.
Oh, I thought you were talking about James Madison, North Dakota State.
I know you got a hot take on that game. You want to start there?
Fantastic. Well, we'll talk. All right. Clemson, I mean, I'll make this pretty quick. These teams are unbelievable. Joe Burrow, I'm rooting for LSU. He threw 7 touchdowns in the first half. But I'll say this. Oklahoma, I genuinely think might have been like the 5th best team they've played. I'm not even joking. I think that says more about Oklahoma than anything. I don't know how you lay 6 points here. Clemson, to me, is the play. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but I think this is a true coin toss type game. Trevor Lawrence has not been beat. They took as good of a punch as you can get from a clearly, I think, the 3rd best team in the country, or maybe even, you could argue they're
maybe second.
And they responded. So I know LSU is just rolling over everybody. It's in New Orleans. I would love to see them win. They may very well win, but at 6 points, I have to grab the points with Clemson.
Same with me. I really think
many points.
The look ahead line, like what would you have made it before the semifinals games? Like I think a lot of people had LSU Clemson basically as a pick 'em. Like maybe you give LSU a point.
I would have personally had Clemson as the favorite, personally.
There you go. Yeah, based on your own handicapping as one of the predominant experts in the field.
That's it. I'm going to single-handedly move the spread to LSU just for my nonsense here. It should have been Oregon in the playoffs. That's the best comment we've ever had on a show. That's right. Now,
it's pandering. That's just pure pandering to you.
Because Herm Edwards and the Sun Devils knocked them out. But you're right. Then again, it worked out fine because I'm sleeping on a mattress full of money from the Rose Bowl. So that's how it worked out just fine.
Worked out all right.
We're going to see. I mean, listen, T. Higgins and Justin Ross on the outside are both future first-round picks. Stingley, the cornerback from LSU, is maybe the best freshman corner I've ever seen. He's unbelievable. This is just strength on strength. The difference, I don't want to say different. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is fantastic. Travis Etienne, though, he was the difference in the game. That guy is unbelievable. When he gets in space, there's no stopping him. I don't know what else to really say, though. Again, these teams are fantastic. 6 points, though, if it was reversed, I obviously would be hammering LSU if they were 6-point dogs. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I think it's just a straight toss-up. So great game to watch. Not the best game to wager on. Very hard to break down.
Yeah. It really feels like they're pretty evenly matched in a lot of areas, right? Like I just think the line is too high. Like there's just so much money from the public coming in on LSU, just riding that throttle of Oklahoma 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, whenever that was already. Everybody has recency bias in that in the public. So to me, it just seems like it's just too many points. Like I want to be with Clemson, and I think you could argue for sure this game would be like a round to pick 'em. Maybe you could argue Clemson would be favored, like you said, but regardless, it's still like a 5, 6, 7-point correction. You could argue.
I think this is just, and maybe again, we're going to find out. I would love to see LSU just keep it rolling. I know for a fact that if Clemson gets hit first, they can respond. I just saw it against Ohio State.
Yeah.
LSU's been killing everybody. I don't know exactly what will happen if Clemson gets up 17-3. I'm not saying Burrow's going to panic, but we haven't really seen that all year. I know Trevor Lawrence, for a fact, can bring them back, and I can't really say the same on the LSU side.
Has LSU been down? I can't even remember if they've been down like more than a touchdown this whole season.
Not that I can really recall. Yeah. They certainly haven't been in any dire straits. I mean, Alabama, they were in control. They murdered Georgia. Against Auburn, they were in a tight game, but again, I'm talking about where it's what happened to Clemson. Clemson was on the ropes. We saw it.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence apparently is really fast. I didn't realize he was that fast because he ran 60 yards for a touchdown. And that changed. The targeting call actually changed the game, but that's neither here nor there. Clemson can handle anything at this point. We'll see what's what. And then on a gut feel, I don't have a strong take here. If I had to, I would lean under. It's 70 right now, but I don't really have a strong take there.
I think I would lean under as well, just because it seems like it's just going to go up and up. If you do like the under, just wait.
So if I can, we have 3 minutes left.
Please
There's
indulge.
two national championship games being played. The other one is the
That's
FCS.
right.
And if you follow anything about that, no surprise, North Dakota State, who wins it literally every year. That's Carson Wentz, many other people. They're fantastic. They're 15-0. Once again, they get James Madison. James Madison was the favorite last night. Now North Dakota State took some money. I am on James Madison. I really like the spot for them. They're 14-1. The only reason they're 14-1 is they play West Virginia the first game of the year, and they lost by a touchdown. This is a balanced team. This is the team. North Dakota State, I think, is getting a bump for being, and you do get something from this. They've won like 6 or 7 out of 8. Now, I never heard of something like this. North Dakota State has a freshman QB. He has 28 touchdowns and no picks on the year. So I don't know what to make of that. That's absurd. He can run. These are things that obviously concern me. But at the same time, I mean, they've really rolled over what I think is not the best schedule I've ever seen. They beat Montana State in the semifinals. James Madison has experience at every position. They're coming off a win against Weber State. This defense is fantastic. They've held a ton of opponents to basically nothing. And I think that, to me, they are the better team. So despite a quarterback that literally has no interceptions on the year, I'm going to go with James Madison to knock off North Dakota State, even though it's a virtual pick 'em in the Vegas odds.
I like it. That game is Saturday morning, like rolls right into the NFL games. So
Yes,
you
it
get a
does.
nice triple header.
It's fantastic. Yeah, it's from Texas. And again, you have 2 really good teams. These are better teams. These teams would both smash a lot of the teams you've been watching in bowl games.
I believe it. There's been a lot of just absolute stinkers in the bowl games, just horrible performances. These teams
can play
bowls.
But just a little, if you're looking for some
I like it.
Take a look at James Madison this week.
I like it. We got just a few more seconds here to break down the Sony Open. I'm just kidding. We can't really get into that right now, but I do want to thank our sponsors. We are going to get out of here. On the Contrary is coming up next, so stay tuned. Spags, Alex Baker, and guest of the week. I'm not sure who they have on this week, but stay tuned. Obviously, one of the best shows to prepare for the DFS slate for the weekend. Ben, good luck this weekend.
Yes.
And we'll see you guys next week.